The problem with bad habits is that you just repeat the same ritual over and over again, the same old, and years go by and you make little or no progress because you kind of keep on repeating yourself. So how do you cultivate new habits, new empowering habits? Well, just like you cultivated the old disempowering habits through repetition. So as you repeat a particular thing like touch typing, when you first start to touch type, it's quite difficult, but you put your fingers on the home keys, you look at the screen, and at first you may be just a two-finger typist, but as you get better and better, it's like your brain actually moves into your fingers, and now you can actually look at the screen without looking at the typewriter or the keyboard, and put your fingers on the home keys and you type away without fingers. And Geronimo, you just cultivated a new habit. The habit of driving, when you first learn to drive, you forget your right from your left. And then you have to remember, in fact, you have to remember which gear is in which position. It's so easy to get confused. And when you really get good at it through repetition, you will make mistakes, but you do it again and again until you get it right. But when you really, really master it, then you get so good at it that you can drive a car unconsciously. You can hold a conversation, you can enjoy the views, and you can listen to music all at the same time. And before you know it, you're at your destination. You say, well, how the hell did I get here? And that's while your mind was thinking lofty thoughts, your unconscious mind drove you home. And you say, how the hell did I get here? Well, that's how you got here, because you have become unconsciously competent. You've cultivated a new habit that is so empowering, it's untrue. So how do you cultivate bad habits? Through repetition. Smoking, every time you smoke a cigarette, you're moving your hand about 20 times to your mouth like that. And multiply that by 10, that's 200. So if smoking 10 cigarettes per day, then you're moving your hand 200 times per day. If you're smoking 20, then you're moving your hand about 400 times a day. That's a huge reinforcement, and eventually it becomes automatic. And then on top of that, of course, the nicotine gives you a little high. So there's that kind of increases your chances of getting a habit very, very quickly. So that accelerates the process of you ending up with that habit. So through repetition and through changing your biochemistry, you can end up with a new habit that is very disempowering. And then, of course, when you try and quit, then all kinds of things come into your mind, such as, it'd be too painful, too difficult, what am I going to do with my hands? And a lot of people who do quit just using brute willpower, white knuckling it, usually say that after I quit, I didn't really know what to do with my hands, so they start smoking again. When you change your biochemistry a lot faster, such as alcohol, because you get drunk, when you're drunk, you're in a completely different state. You're in a drunken state, and in a drunken state, that can become very addictive. So if you change your biochemistry quickly, then you reinforce the habit of drinking over and over again, and then that's it. You got a new disempowering habit that is very, very difficult to break. Go one stage further, say cocaine. Cocaine gives you a hit straight away, and then you're always trying to chase the first hit. So go one level up, say crack cocaine. Crack cocaine gives you such a huge high, and it's straight away. You smoke it and it's like, wow, I want to do this again. And the habit forms so quickly, even without repetition. You get one hit and your mind says, I like this, and you want to do it over and over again. So let's move up one stage further. When you have heroin, it's supposed to be like better than sex, and instantly you are hooked. And so that becomes an instant habit, and you want to repeat it over and over again. And so those are very, very bad disempowering habits. What about process addictions such as gambling? Gambling is a two-edged sword. When you lose, you get a high. When you win, you get a high, although it's a different kind of a high. But this intermittent reinforcement produces the most powerful habit you can imagine. And if you think about it logically, why would somebody put a gambling machine in the casino if they weren't going to make any money? So when they program it, they usually say give 70% back to the punter and keep 30%. Well, who keeps that 30%? Not you, you moron. Okay, so can you see that it's legalized stealing? But of course, once you get addicted, then no amount of convincing or telling you that it's a bad thing is going to convince you, and you will keep doing it. And then there are, of course, other habits such as looking at your phone every couple of minutes. Just think about how much time you're wasting. But it becomes a very, very powerful habit indeed. And most people just keep looking at their multimedia, their Facebook, their emails over and over again. Very, very disempowering habits. So those are disempowering habits. How do you cultivate new habits? Well, exactly like you cultivated the bad ones. So say, I'll explain it to you by an example. So I'm going to show you some of my bad habits and I'll tell you how I'm going to fix them. You see, I have a habit of just leaving things. So can you see that I've kind of dumped some stuff here and I've kind of left it here. So more stuff is dumped there. So I just kind of do that all the time. Dump, 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 dump. And look at that. Even more stuff is dumped here. And then if you think this is bad enough, okay, have a look at this. Okay, see, all the paperwork's been dumped and dumped over months and months and months, and so my accounts have become critical and I haven't actually sorted them out. So that's an example of an unresourceful habit that, say I know what client is coming today and I do not prepare for the client. That's a bad habit. So I don't get the questionnaire out. I don't actually set up the equipment. It doesn't take that long to actually put their details into the computer that I'll be using on them, say the eLibra. And when they're gone, so there is some preparation that I need to do up front. And when they're gone, then there is some tidying up that I need to do. So I need to take the questionnaire, scan it, put it into my computer, put their details in the computer. I should have done some of that up front. And then I take that photograph and then I link that photograph with their details. So if they ever call me, then I not only will get their names and so on, but I will also see their photographs. So I know exactly who I'm seeing. As far as sort of dumping stuff is concerned, what you do is consciously you decide that you're not going to dump anymore. So rather than just dump things, you actually tidy up. So as in the book called Atomic Habits, he said that just tidying things up made him feel as if he had some control of his life. So can you see that as you start to tidy up, so instead of dumping, if you take a little bit of time, I know it's easy to just dump, but if you take a little bit of time, put those away where they should be. And then the same thing goes with the paperwork, which has been piling on a daily basis. When you get some paperwork, if you archive it or you do whatever you need to do on a daily basis, accounts are extremely easy if you kind of do them as you go along, and then you don't get into a horrible mess. Same with, say, the website. If you work on it consistently, I haven't looked at my website for ages. It hasn't been updated. These are habits that you have to cultivate consciously. So you have to do it consciously. Even looking after your feet or personal hygiene, you have to do that consistently on a regular basis. So you do it consciously, but as you do it consciously and you repeat it over and over again, you become consciously competent. That means that it becomes a lot easier for you to do them without feeling any kind of anxiety. Then if you keep repeating it, you become unconsciously competent, like driving a car, where you don't even have to think about it, you just do it. So as you flex your muscle, like if you have a muscle that's weak, but as you start to exercise it, it becomes stronger and stronger. This is what you have to do with your bad habits. If you want to cultivate good habits, then you have to do it consciously until you become so good at it that you can do it without even thinking about it. And as far as bad habits are concerned, so every time you fall out with your, say, girlfriend or wife, and you have some kind of a little argument with her, you rush out of the door and you go to the nearest pub and you get totally smashed on alcohol. And once you got smashed with alcohol, then you feel like doing cocaine. So even though you paid thousands and pounds to have the therapy to quit the cocaine, you get completely inebriated and then you snort some cocaine. So then you go and blame the therapist because he hasn't done his job properly. No, what you've done is you have not taken personal responsibility. But the other thing is you're not actually putting any effort into cultivating new habits. So what could be an alternative to getting all upset and going out and, getting totally smashed? Well, you could walk around the block for a couple of times until you calm down. It's just a state, it's a temporary state, and you can break it. So you have to consciously break the old habitual habits and cultivate new ones. And if you keep doing that consciously, so every time you identify a bad habit, such as all of my doors need to be trimmed because they're all sticking, well, that's a habit. Why leave it and leave it? Why not get somebody to do it or do it yourself? If you can't do it yourself, then get somebody else to do it. So what would be the other one? All right, my alarm is going beep every now and then because it needs to be repaired. I couldn't get the experts to repair it, but I have the knowledge to do it myself. So yes, it will set me back a couple of £100 and it'll require a bit of effort. But once I've done it, this beeping that started just before the lockdown up to now, that's just so annoying. It will just stop and you'll feel, oh, great. So you have to cultivate new habits and it does require effort. But the dividends, oh my God, the dividends are so incredible because you will actually start to make progress in your life rather than go through like the Groundhog Day, same old, every day is the same old day. And your life just simply passes you by and you get absolutely nowhere. So my lesson for today for my listeners is eliminate bad habits consciously, override them with new habits. Consciously start to put effort into cultivating new habits until they become automatic and do it all the time. This shouldn't be a one-off exercise. It should be an ongoing thing that you do on a regular basis. Keep cultivating new habits. And by the time you get to my age, which is retirement, rather than trying to rebuild my life when I'm retired, you will be basking in the sun, having champagne, having wonderful, wonderful luxury life and retiring gracefully rather than retiring like me, ungracefully. So that's it for today. Bye for now.